the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button. You see it, so you don't miss any of our content. Well, we try to bring him on at least once a month. I mean, I think that's reasonable. I mean, he's a spot starter.
Oh, come on. This is it. What happened to buttering up your guest? I'm available weekly. I'm still waiting for the regular rotation. I'm not saying I'm an ace, but I can start game 3 of a playoff series. Come on.
Absolutely, you can. So I was just talking about you to somebody in the industry. I'm not even going to get into it, but it was very complimentary. So
thank you.
There's a lot of peripheral things going on in basketball. One of them we've talked about is Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And I've always believed this to be true. Judge a person by how relationships end, not how they start. Guys have great opening lines at the bar, and then they don't text, or they text when they break up. Like our presidents, boy, they've got a great mission statement going into a war. We can never get out of it, right? Like it's just, guys are really good with entrances and awful with exits. I can argue now, after the burner phone incident, which is alleged but seems to be true, Kevin Durant's exit in OKC, Golden State, Brooklyn, Phoenix, and Houston, 0 for 5. He's like bad breakup boyfriend. Like there is something to be said that, and this is the Aaron Rodgers vibe I've always had. I know most athletes aren't great leaders, but there is kind of an understanding if you're the best player on a team, you got to kind of own some of it. You just can't be guy who shows up and hits buckets. And watching, Kevin Durant, and it's almost like the net rating was better when he didn't play for Houston. And I've got to be honest with you, it does affect the way I look at him. It does ding his legacy a little bit to me.
Of course. I mean, listen, I think that KD has a legit gripe with the media for creating rings culture, him leaving and going to Golden State, winning rings, and then us being like, yeah, but those rings aren't that impressive. Like, I get why that would piss him off. And I do think that seemed to be some sort of breaking point with like, all right, now I'm going to just really engage and like be very online and like kind of push back at narrative stuff that he doesn't like. But sorry, like I don't hold those rings in as high of a regard. You joined a super team that had already won. Like You were great, but like Giannis's is more impressive. Jokic's is more impressive. Like we've talked about that before. He's going to make all NBA this year, which is what I think really does complicate it. Like, he is going to be now 65 game rule, a little contribution to it, but not really. Like that guy's a hooper. He showed up, he played, and 100 media members are going to vote him as either being a top 10 guy this year or a top 15 guy this year, depending on if he makes second or third team. So if it is done in Houston over the burner stuff, I will get it because of chemistry. But I don't think this is like Houston will be better without Kevin Durant. I don't believe, even though they were better for a couple of games against the Lakers in the playoffs. He is still an awesome basketball player. Maybe he's a mercenary. Maybe he needs to go to Detroit, where it's like clearly Cade Cunningham's team. Like Cade Cunningham, max contract guy. He might be the starting point guard for Team USA at the 2028 Olympics. Like no one would be really looking to KD to be the leader of that team. Goes to Minnesota, that's Ant Edwards' team. Like goes to New York, that's Jalen Brunson's team. In Houston, it was always going to be his team because Şengün, by his own admission, language barrier, more of a lead by example guy. Van Vliet, great player, but how you can't lead from street clothes, right? He's out the whole year. So if he moves on, I don't think Houston gets better. Their locker room gets better. And he's got to be thinking, all right, it's 5 franchises, rings that people don't really hold in high regard, and he's going to go down with maybe scoring more points than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like it's a weird legacy for a top 20 all-time player in the history of the sport. He's probably the most complicated guy in the top 20 to really pin down exactly what he is.
Well, Carmelo Anthony's another guy, like not really a winning player, didn't play defense, often not in the best shape, but a great basket. I mean, and I think Carmelo's legacy is popular. Was he a winning player? Russell Westbrook's legacy, Hall of Famer. Was he a winning player? You know, it's basketball. I tend to give basketball players a little bit of a break because it's the most artistic of sports. Like people have signature shoes and signature moves. You know, it's like nobody in baseball really has a signature shoe. That's not a thing. And so, like, I kind of give basketball players a little bit of a break. I mean, I was a kid. I liked World B. Free. I mean, just a ridiculous gunner, not a winning player, but I remember when he would play like once a year, the Sonics. I was fascinated by, maybe it was the name. So I tend to give KD a break in that it's basketball. He's a little bit of an artist. You know, not everybody is like Matt Damon, Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks, Denzel, really good with a business and a great artist like Mick Jagger and Bono. Some artists, they trash hotel rooms and get married 4 times. Like, I still like their art.
Well, listen, and KD, if he was listening to this, he'd probably be like, I've made hundreds of millions of dollars from investments. Like, he actually is a pretty good businessman. You know, like I think that KD is smart. And I think that KD is, I think he's eccentric. People have made, you know, they've made the Aaron Rodgers comp. Maybe you've made the Aaron Rodgers comp. I think it's pretty spot on. Like, Aaron Rodgers could have been a better leader, should have more rings, but he's universally regarded as an all-time talent, and it complicates his legacy because of all of the other stuff with it.
I think eccentric is a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because he's about my age, he's a couple of years younger than me. He is very millennial. And I say that with just the amount of judgment that I can say as a millennial. Like I went to college, and my freshman year is when Facebook became a thing. So, like, I got to meet people before, like, after high school, before college, like, that were in my dorm via Facebook. But you were still, like, going to parties and, like, maybe posting pictures on the internet, but we weren't all on our phones all of the time. Like, that kind of blew up after my college experience. Whereas, like, my younger sisters, they've had smartphones since they were in grade school. And I do think there's a difference in that, like, KD, he's very online. I bet you his screen time is 8, 9, 10 hours on his device. Like, he is. And so when you do that and you give all of these people, not just people like you or people like me, who at least try to have some sort of, like, consistency with our opinions and watch the games and talk to people, whatever, but, like, literally, like, Nets fan 42, when you give all of those people access to your pocket and your brain and your consciousness, not everyone can separate it. And I think KD clearly he wants to be able to have a voice in front of a microphone and in a boardroom, but he also wants to have a voice with Nets fan 42. And it's like, buddy, you're Kevin Durant. Right. Like, you have to be above it. Like, the fact that it appears that he was the guy talking trash on all of his teammates is so embarrassing. Like, it's such an embarrassing scandal, but I think it is, like, only the type of thing that could happen to a millennial Gen Z era person who is, like, looking for currency and validation online. But it's so embarrassing for a person of his stature.
So I'm a boomer, so a lot of sex.
Yeah.
A lot of drinking, and eventually a lot of money.
Yeah, you guys crushed it. Yeah. No, you crushed it. You guys were able to go to college for like $48, buy a house for $3,200 that maybe the government subsidized, and then you're like, I bought my house. This person who I will not name, who I met through my job in New York, not a famous person, but just like a person, and they were like, when I moved out here, they're like, you should buy my house. Like, I'm getting ready to downsize. So I was like, oh yeah? She's like, yeah, like I'm going to list it for like $2 million. I'm like, oh, good for you. And she's like, I bought it for $160,000. I was like, great. That opportunity is not available to the millennials that graduated college in the housing crisis of 08, 09, and then have lived through whatever the hell the last 20 years have been. But I'm really happy for all of you guys.
Okay, let's pivot to let's pivot to Draymond Green.
Oh, yeah, that's a right turn.
So he used to be at the Volume. I liked him. I thought he cut through. So basically, Draymond Green came out and said, you know, Steve Kerr may have gotten in the way of my career. And then Austin Rivers is like, bro, you're the luckiest guy in the history of the league. And then Draymond and Austin Rivers have exchanged unpleasantries. So yeah, I like Draymond. I would say this is where I think Draymond lacks a little self-awareness. So his high school coach in Saginaw, Michigan, was a guy named Lou Dawkins, Hall of Famer. He eventually gets Steve Kerr, Hall of Famer. That's after Tom Izzo, who will be a Hall of Famer. He's never had a bad coach. LeBron's had like 4. Mark Jackson, by the way, was very effective. Kerr was just better, and it was really transitioning to a very offensive three-point league, and Kerr was a long-range shooter. So the culture sort of moved away from Mark and into Steve. And that's what I would say. Now, obviously, Austin Rivers, it was a disappointing career, whatever. But I can simultaneously think Draymond's the best defensive player ever and better offensively because he's a catalyst than people give him credit for. But then part of me is like, bro, that would be like me having 3 bosses, all of them the best in either their state, region, or industry. Like, I've said this forever for young broadcasters. Don't chase money, chase management. There's a sea of money in anything. There's a finite number of really shrewd, sharp, visionary bosses. Like I've had maybe 3 in a 40-year career. Where do you land on Draymond?
Draymond is an amazing basketball player, but if he thinks that if he was on the Pelicans, he'd be a first ballot Hall of Famer, he's out of his mind. Like, respectfully, because he is an incredible defensive player. He's a 4-time champion. He's a 4-time All-Star who averages 9 points a game. Dyson Daniels is an amazing defensive player. Like, if you're watching the Hawks, you're kind of locked in on Dyson Daniels, but he's not on a Hall of Fame trajectory. Like, you have to win to be a player like Draymond, for you to be on Turner, to be on the Volume, for us to care about you.
Now, can I argue this, though? Rodman played for the Spurs, Chuck Daly, and Phil Jackson. And the truth is, smart people understood the value of him. And the thing I would argue with Draymond is, despite his idiosyncratic personality, Kerr would never let him go. It was basically a Steph-Draymond team. And so, like Rodman, you can say, oh, he wasn't a good teammate. Yeah, then why did Popovich, Chuck Daly, and Phil Jackson all speak glowingly? There is value in Draymond retaining a contract with maybe the smartest coach in the league.
Oh, but okay, so I don't think we're disagreeing here. Like, Draymond is a winning basketball player. I think Draymond absolutely had a tremendous amount of value to the Warriors dynasty. I am merely saying that, like, if Draymond Green was on the Pelicans or the Hawks or the Bulls or whomever, he's not the one who created the dynasty. Steph Curry is, right? Like, you can be a winning player, and like Dennis Rodman was amazing, but that was still more because of Isaiah than Dennis Rodman. It was more because of Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen than Dennis Rodman. He was just he was excellent at his role, and then the winning that came partly because of him and partly with him is what elevates him all time. There are a lot of great rebounders and defensive players that if they don't have a lot of rings, we don't really care about you. So I think that, but Draymond, it makes sense why he has a little bit of an overinflated sense of self. Like, Steph Curry loves him. LeBron loves him. He's got titles and a gold medal, and like doing it his way has made him obscenely wealthy and obscenely famous. So like there's no reason for him to change and stop being who he is. But I don't think that Draymond Green would be regarded as an all-time player if he had been drafted into a different situation.
All right, Wemby topic.
Yeah.
So the first time I watched the NBA was in the early 70s. It was like 1972. I can remember watching the Washington-Miami Super Bowl on a black and white TV in my bedroom. And I remember watching a CBS NBA game. Brent Musburger was calling the play-by-play. It was the Lakers, like with Wilt Chamberlain, old Wilt lumbering up the court with a headband against the Blazers.
Wow.
And yeah, it was in Portland. And that Portland came back to beat the Lakers. They were down like 20 and came back. I've looked it up and I can't find the game. So Wilt Chamberlain was a remarkable basketball player, but a bit too flaky to be the face of the league. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was too stoic and prickly and was never the face of the league. And Hakeem Olajuwon and Tim Duncan weren't the face of the league. And Kobe's signature shoe at Nike was a bigger deal than Shaq, so Shaq was never really the face of the league. Shoe sales sort of matter with that stuff. Is that as much as we look at Wemby as face of the league, he's international, he's 7'4". Alien is a compliment, but it's not terribly relatable as a nickname, like the Doctor is, or Mamba is. Alien is frightening and otherworldly. And I'm watching him against Minnesota in that game, and my take is his game is fascinating. He's basically a disruptor on defense and a finisher on offense. But he's not a creator like Jokic or Kobe or Michael or Dr. J or Steph or LeBron. He's not a creator. And mostly our faces of the league have been creators and finishers. And I think he's just going to go down as one of the all-time great players, but I don't know if he is face of the league guy.
He's pretty thoughtful.
He is very.
He gives very interesting answers, which I do think will help him in like the media ecosystem. People are going to want to continue to talk to him, so I will give him that. I do think that winning is a big piece of it, right? Like Duncan won a lot, but wasn't face of the league. To your point, it does tend to go to guys who have the ball in their hands as guards, but he might just change everything. Like as you were talking about it, I Googled, just top selling jerseys. And this is an article, Stephen Curry leading way in jersey sales so far for 2025-2026 season. So I don't see a date on this post from
that
NBA.
Came out not that long ago. Jersey sales came out. I think Ant was shockingly low at 5, but Minnesota had a really weird regular season.
Yeah, so this is from like earlier in this season. Oh, okay, here we go. Updated January 20th. So 4 months ago. But from this season, Steph Curry 1, Luka 2, Brunson 3, Wemby 4, LeBron 5, Ant 6. So if you're 4th in jersey sales, and that's before you really entered the MVP conversation, before you became the first unanimous defensive player of the year, and before you had even played in a playoff game, and you're 22 years old, I have to be open to the possibility that that guy can be the face of the league. Like what you're saying historically is accurate about big guys, but I think we are like everything about Wemby has to be taken with like, yeah, but the alien might be different. Like right. it just, he might just break all of the rules. And again, 4th in jersey sales, purely anecdotally, I have seen kids in Wemby jerseys. Not saying a ton. I see more Yankees jerseys on kids where I live, but I have seen some. So I think he is such a singular talent that I do think it is possible. And that game, as we record this on a Tuesday, that game last night was a weird one. Well, what a weird basketball game.
So I had said this the day before. I'm like, Minnesota's a pain in the ass to play.
Oh, yeah.
And unbelievable fourth quarter team. The way Chris Finch experiments, and then when games matter, they're really good. I mean, they're fourth quarter scoring. I mean, the minute that game went in the fourth and they took a 4-point lead, I'm like, the game is over. Like, absolutely. De'Aaron Fox was terrible. Stephon Castle was in foul trouble. And Julius Randle is one of the more underrated players because the analytic mavens don't love him, but he's a walking 19-9, and he bullies Wemby. But I watched that game, and I was, as he was 0 for 8, I'm watching Wemby. And I think he's a fascinating disruptor defensively. I don't really love watching his game offensively. You can knock him off his spot. He's off balance a lot. He hits the floor a lot. He's not a great passer or initiator. He's a very good closer. But I didn't find LeBron's game that appealing his first 2 to 3 years. As he developed as a perimeter player, I found it more engaging. And then after the Dallas disaster in the finals, he developed, I thought his game he kind of finished his game. It was close. He finished it. And I still think MJ is more fun to watch than LeBron. And I think Kobe was more fun to watch. I don't know. I'm not trying to be a critic. I hope Wemby wins. He's just a really thoughtful, smart guy. And he's really good with the press. But as I watch him, I'm not captivated by his offensive game. And that usually feels like it. I've said this about Jason Tatum. Sometimes Tatum, I'm like, is he playing? What?
Yeah.
Where is he?
Yeah, I mean, listen. Last night he was 5 of 17 and 0 of 8 from threes, and you're like, that's a game that a 7'5" guy should not have. But to your point about LeBron, you're like, he didn't love it early. It wasn't totally Refined. He had to develop.
That's right.
He came into the league at 18 years old.
Right.
There we have to kind of remember, like, Victor Wembanyama is by far the best defensive player in the sport, and at least on a per 36-minute basis, a pretty damn good offensive player also. He didn't play a ton of minutes this year, which I think was smart, given the health issues and the size and how young he is and all of that. Right. And we'll see what happens. But I am totally open to the possibility that his offensive game will keep developing. And small pivot, but Minnesota, God, are they fun. So Chris Finch, we profiled him a bit in our book, Pipeline to the Pros, because he went to Franklin and Marshall, and he was a two-time All-American, but the stories people would tell about him was just kind of gritty, nasty, really physical, the best rebounder the program had ever seen. And it's so instructive when you think about Minnesota. They're so tough. And they're so like Randall's just bodying people, and Gobert,
Naz Reid,
Naz Reid, McDaniel, Terrence Shannon,
Illinois kid,
Chicago tough, and he comes in and he gets blocked 2 times in the first minute of the game, and the first minute he's on the floor, gets blocked 3 times by Wemby. He's asked about it afterwards, and he's like, "Yeah, I told him." He's going to need to block me every single time because I'm going to drive to the hoop. I'm going to come at him every time. I'm not going to stop coming down the lane. They are just fearless and really physical and really scrappy and really tough. And so I don't know who will win that series, but I think we have to I respect the hell out of them. They overachieve in the playoffs, back-to-back trips to the Western Conference Finals. Got crushed for the Gobert trade that has worked out for them, obviously. Crushed for the Cat Julius Randle trade, which I think has been at least a draw, win-win for both teams. Just a really interesting team. And if they knock Wemby out, man, we're going to have to put a lot of respect on them.
Today's show is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet, Florida Sportsbook. Second round of the NBA playoffs are here. Fantastic. On Hard Rock Bet every night, your chance to score a major bucket. Winner go home energy on the hardwood. Same game parlays. Listen, you want to go with a hot hand to drop 30, double doubles. Hard Rock Bet gives you tons of ways to stack your picks into a same game parlay built for the postseason. So if you're ever late to tip off, don't worry. Hard Rock Bet lets you live bet all game long, first bucket to last. So try your first bet on Hard Rock Bet today. You can score $150 in bonus bets if you win. So just place a $5 bet. If it hits, you not only get your winnings, but an extra $150 in bonus bets. The welcome offer is just a tip. Hard Rock Bet now has promos daily. So open up the app right now and see what they've got today. Hard Rock Bet, Florida's only legal sportsbook. but you don't have to be in Florida to join the party. Hard Rock Bets live in Arizona, Jersey, Ohio, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, Colorado, Michigan, more states on the way. You live in New York now.
Oh, okay.
And I've found that the Eastern Conference is hard for me to figure out. I mean, Detroit finished as a number 1 seed and they have 1 score. Last year, Tyrese Halliburton and Indiana suddenly were dynamic. We're like, how the hell is this happening? Is Cleveland good? I don't think so. Philadelphia, we sort of gave up on, and then they beat the Celtics. My point is with the Knicks is, it's the East. Like, I know Minnesota, San Antonio, Oklahoma City. I see the rosters, and they're going up against each other. Like, Denver's a good team. They got extinguished. Are the Knicks good? I don't know.
I think it's totally fair. They were really inconsistent over the course of the year. And so they
had locker room issues. Like, there were reports they didn't like each other.
I didn't believe in them. And I also didn't believe in them because of their own standards. Like, they fired Tibbs for, making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and James Dolan went on the radio and was like, finals or bust. I'm like, okay, I don't think you're a finals or bust team, so anything short of making the finals is a disappointment. And now they are on a run. The last 4 games, it's been absurd. Now, you can say it's caliber of opponent, but if all of the teams in the East are flawed and you're the team that's playing the best at the moment, maybe you're going to win the East. And if you win the East, you can win the finals because you don't have to get through the gauntlet that Minnesota is going to have to get through. Like, I think Oklahoma City's the best team. I thought they were the best team last year. Indiana took them to Game 7. So if you make it and you're hot and Brunson can win any game by himself, like, I have to be open to the possibility that the Knicks can win the title. And Karl Anthony Towns, he is
worse, significantly worse this year. Bridges was significantly worse. Not that dynamic a bench. I mean, it's a weird team.
It is, but like, Towns is at least trying on defense, and OG Anunoby is playing great right now. Like,
he's great.
And Hart plays his ass off. And so, like, listen, I picked him to lose to Atlanta. Knicks fans do not like me right now, but they are playing an incredibly high level of basketball. Did you see the stat going around today that it has never happened in the history of the playoffs with 3 straight wins of 25 or more?
They're shooting 60% in their last 3 games. Listen, like a scrimmage.
It seems completely unsustainable. But Cade is the entirety of the Pistons offense. The Cavs, I think they're the most talented team, but they just seem impervious to all playing well at the same time. Like, I'm like, why can't you guys have a good game together? Like, if you all had a good game at the same time, I think that they would be the best team in the East, but it just seems like it's an impossibility for them. And Boston shot themselves out of the playoffs. And Philly, can you possibly trust Embiid to stay healthy for the whole thing, even though he is spectacular and they look non-competitive? So yeah, I think the Knicks are hot right now. My pick was the Cavs, but I didn't feel great about it. And so the East is really weird and really flawed. And we're going to go into the NBA Finals just like we went into the Super Bowl, and we're going to say that the Western Conference Finals are like the NFC Championship game.
Well, that's right. Seahawks-Rams were 10-0 against the AFC.
Correct.
And the Thunder and Spurs are like 49-11 against the East. I mean, it's clear.
Yes, so that we're all going to have the same take. And then in the back of at least my mind, I'm going to be like, but Tyrese Halliburton took the Thunder to 7. Like that is why they play the games. And I haven't like had our researchers run the data on it yet, and I don't think we have enough of a sample of it. But I do think there is so much talent, and now these guys are so good at shooting the 3, and the 3 ball adding more variance to the sport, that I do think we're going to I'm not positive that 10 years from now we will look back at the Pacers and be like, well, that was a one-of-one outlier. Like, I don't think we're going back to an era where it's just 1s and 2 seeds that make it to the finals every year. Like, I think that just teams are kind of playing possum in the regular season, just trying to be healthy, get hot at the right time. Like, Minnesota can make the finals. They're a 6 seed. Like, I think that there's so much talent in the league now.
Well,
that I think we have to be more open to the possibility that the lower seed can pull off the quote unquote stunning upset, but it's not really all that stunning because they also have an awesome team. Just think about Philly's roster.
Oh, they have 4 guys who can score the ball.
Yeah, and like Embiid, MVP, Maxey, All NBA, Paul George, a handful of all-star teams, like Edgecombe, sick player. Like they're a really talented team, but they're a 7 seed. Minnesota, a 6 seed. Like there's just so much damn talent in the league now that I don't think we can be as shocked by upsets if they happen.
Okay, I want to do over-unders in the NFL. I'm going to ask you over-under, and you have to give me a paragraph why.
Okay, I mean, man, we're doing this before the sequence of the schedule is out. I love it. Okay.
Okay, the schedule release is next week. So
I love schedule release. People make
fun. I'm the same way. First of all, New England got to a Super Bowl for 2 reasons. Easy schedule and Bo Nix got hurt. The Niners were 12-5 for 1 reason. The schedule. They couldn't score a touchdown the last 2 games against Seattle with Kyle Shanahan. So it's like Washington the year before has success. Really light schedule. Of course it matters.
Of course it matters. But like what the critics would say, like, well, we know the opponents right now. What does the order matter? I'm like, it's just fun. Like, don't hate on fun. And a lot of just people, real people, not people like you and me and our ivory towers of media, they go to like 1 road trip a year. Like, it's fun to know, like, if like when Vegas is on your team's NFL schedule, it's like, when do we get to go to Vegas to see our team play?
Well,
when am I going to Lambeau for Bears Packers? Oh, my team gets to play at Arrowhead this year. Like, it's the sequencing of it in doing the whole SNL, like week 1, Lions win. Like, it's fun to do the whole thing.
Well, and the other thing is, it does matter. Andy Reid in September. Denver in the high altitude. At home in September. You don't want to play, Miami until like October 10th.
Yep.
Buffalo, Baltimore, New England. Rather not play a roadie in December. Like, folks, if you're a dome team or a warm weather team, you don't want to go north after like December 3rd.
Yeah, when is your bye? How are you handling your international trip? Is it early? Is it late? Do you have the bye after your international trip? It's great. It's great.
Okay, so one of the best bets, I think. So the Cowboys last year faced 8 teams with winning records and went 1-7, and they more than any team in the league go from last year, I think the 3rd easiest schedule to one of the toughest. They have the biggest pivot, easy to hard. And if you start looking at their schedule, look at the teams Dallas plays. Dude, it's a lot of Jaguars. And, it's like teams with a good offensive coach. Now, I do think they've upgraded defensively, but they're at 8.5. And that is the biggest sucker bet ever. Everybody's going to bet the over on this. And my take is the Giants are going to be much better. The Commanders, Jaden Daniels healthy, is going to be much better. And their schedule, folks, look it up. It's just landmine after landmine. That's one of my favorite unders is Dallas under 8.5.
Yeah, so they have NFC West and AFC South. AFC South is obviously a pretty good draw.
Well, but Daniel Jones and the Colts early last year were fantastic.
Yeah, well, and what I was going to say is like you also want the tougher teams, obviously, to be at home for bigger chances of upsets, and they got a pretty bad draw with that. Like their road games in those divisions at Houston, at Indy, at the Rams, at the Seahawks.
Brutal.
Yeah, that's very difficult.
And last year they played
tough.
Geno and Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Now they did beat Mahomes, but he had 4 touchdowns, no picks, and a passer rating of 130. So he literally ate them alive. I think the best under bet is Dallas 8.5. All right, so I'll start with you, Dallas. I'm kind of setting you up here. I think Dallas under is the play there. Your thoughts on Dallas 8.5?
Yeah, listen, I agree with you because I have not committed all of the division opponents to memory yet. So I'm going to be kind of doing this on the fly. But what I would say about Dallas is it seems almost impossible that they will get that George Pickens season again. That seems Very unlikely. He was second team All-Pro.
And not in a good mood with a franchise tag.
Yeah, and whatever the franchise tag component is going to be there. However, their defense can't be worse. They used their highest pick on a defensive player since 2012. They gave out the biggest contract to a defensive player for them since 2012. 4 of their first 6 picks were on the defensive side of the ball, including 2 first-round picks. Caleb Downs, obviously everybody loves. We'll see how Malachi Lawrence does. Like, new defensive coordinator, which I do think can be like there's just a bump in effort. So if their defense can be the 17th ranked defense in the league and they get offensive health, they definitely can be the best offense in the league with Dak, CD, and Pickens, and they found a bit of a running game last year. But those are 2 huge ifs. So I understand why you're going under. That's schedule.
So brutal. One of my favorite overs is the Lions 10.5, which seems like a lot. But they have the easiest schedule in the league. Massive upgrade at offensive coordinator, and they solved their left tackle issue. So I think a lot of people are, I mean, listen, we love their GM.
Yep.
We really like the coach and the quarterback. They have most of the elements, but over the last year, they had to address their offensive line. Last year in the draft, very young interior. Now they're going to have a young left tackle, but one of the more talented ones. Go look at the Lions schedule. So if I say over 10.5, it's like, folks, it's a 17-game schedule. So 11-6. And so I'm giving them a lot of like Arizona's on the schedule.
Yeah, they got their road games. They've got easy road game in Arizona, easy road game in Miami, easy-ish road game in Carolina. That's a pretty good road. And you also want to look now, since it's an unbalanced schedule, like you said, do you have more home games or road games? And they have more home games than road games. So yeah, they do have a very on paper easy schedule. Jets.
So one of my favorite unders is the Cowboys. One of my favorite over the Lions. So now I'm just going to go and let you take over.
Okay.
Bears 9.5. Schedule's tougher. Bears 9.5.
So listen, people will call me a homer. That's fine. I do think this is an over because I don't see why the Lions, Packers, and Bears don't all have the same over-under. I don't think the Lions and the Packers are 10.5 and the Bears are 9.5. I don't understand. Like, it's a very, very, very difficult division, and the regression for the Bears they will not lead the league in takeaways this year. They will not lead the league in fourth quarter comebacks this year. 80% of their offensive line last year played in over 90% of the snaps. Left guard, center, right guard, right tackle were all remarkably healthy. That's already not going to happen because of the Drew Dahlman surprise retirement at center, even though they addressed it with the Bradbury trade and the second-round pick. However, we see when special quarterbacks are paired in good systems, their second year in the system is when they take the leap. It's what happened for Mahomes. It's what happened for Lamar Jackson. Like, we've seen it time and time and time again. I believe Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson are special. And he has unbelievable weapons. And all of those young guys get to take that same second year in the system leap. Odunze, Burden, Loveland. So I think the offense will be a top 10 offense, maybe even a top 5 offense. I know they think they can be the best offense. So I think their offense is going to bring them to double-digit wins this year.
Packers at 10.5.
So that one, again, Packers fans, you're just a hater. I think that the Packers, and I want to pull up the schedule to see who their home road splits are. So I'm going to do this with you.
They're in a really interesting spot where
I got it.
Gary and Kenny Clark gone, Micah off an injury, not good against the run. They play in a division now with some really lively offenses and creative people. And and Jeff Hafley leaves. I have questions about, I don't ever question their draft and development. I think they have really nice weapons. How good is their defense?
Yeah, I think, listen, when Micah was there, it was pretty good. And then everything fell off a cliff when he got hurt. schedule, at the Rams is obviously brutal. At the Patriots, the rest of it's pretty Saints, Jets, Bucks. That's a pretty tame road schedule, actually, if you comparatively. I think that the Packers, you said it was 10.5?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I think so. I would small disagree with you on Detroit, and I just think all of those teams are like in the 9-10 range. So for the Bears at 9.5, they'd be my over, and for the Lions and Packers at 10.5, I'd lead under, because I just think that they're all basically the same. All have one or two big flaws, but then the rest of the team is really good, and the coaching is really good in that division. And I don't know if you have Minnesota on your list, but now that they have Kyler Murray, it's just such I could see last place in the NFC North being an 8-win team. I don't think that there's any easy out in that division. So I think I'll just lean unders on the two teams with the highest win total.
Okay, I want to go AFC. This is interesting. I think the Raiders are going to be much more competent. I think Denver has the best roster and division, and I think Justin Herbert will finally have an offensive line. Kansas City, I think, is going to make a leap. 10.5 to me is the under. And I think, I just look at that division now and I'm like, if Clint Kubiak is good, the coaching's really good, the personnel, like when you let go of Trent McDuffie, I wish him the very best on their rookie, but Trent McDuffie was like the second best corner in the league. Chris Jones, relative to Chris Jones, was not terribly productive. I think their offense will mostly be solved with Kenneth Walker, and I do think Josh Simmons they like a lot at left tackle.
Yeah.
And Mahomes will be healthy. But, Rashee Rice, do we trust him? Travis Kelce, age. I think Kansas City is going to be good. But remember when the Rams, everybody thought they win the Super Bowl. Next year, Stafford gets hurt, they're bad. And then they bounce back. They have a bounce back year, and they signed one Kevin Dotson, one acquisition offseason, and then they had like Puka, Young, Kobe Turner. They hit on 3 draft picks. But they weren't Philadelphia. It took them another draft and free agent. That's what Kansas City is. So I think they had 3 great draft picks, Kenneth Walker. But it's hard to find. When you look at that defense, you're relying on a couple of rookies to deliver. I think Kansas City will be good, but I don't think you can go from what they were last year to a Super Bowl team.
I think that is all pretty sound. Andy Reid has hit the over in, I think, all but 2 years since he's been there. It's just stupid. It's a remarkable run for that guy. If you give him healthy quarterback play, he just represents such a insanely high floor. And obviously with Mahomes, it's been a pretty high ceiling. They also, having Seattle and the Rams on your schedule as road games is just, that is a really, really, really tough break to not get one of those games at Arrowhead this year, given how good Seattle ended up being. So that is very tough. I loved the Kenneth Walker addition so much for them. They haven't had a 1,000-yard running back since 2017. Yeah. So you give Mahomes the best running back he's ever had, because I think Kareem Hunt had a very nice season, but I do think Kenneth Walker is a better player than Kareem Hunt was. So Rashee Rice also, at this moment in time, it looks like everything's going to be fine. But who knows? Because he does get into trouble off the field, and there have been issues. But if Rashee Rice is a number one, and when he is healthy, Mahomes treats him like a number one. Worthy is a guy who got better as the year went on and a very fun weapon. And the addition of Kenneth Walker, I do think they have the opportunity to be a really damn good offense this year. So I'm not in the business of betting against Andy Reid with healthy Mahomes.
We'll end with this. Have you seen DTF St. Louis?
I have not.
Okay,
I have not. I've heard you reference it, and I see you tweet about it. And
God.
I know just enough to be dangerous, and I find it amazing that you love and watch the show. So I don't know, but I don't know. I can't name a character. I've never seen an episode.
Okay, it's the best acting I've ever seen. Everybody's sensational. The acting is sensational. And like The Wire with Baltimore or Breaking Bad with Albuquerque, St. Louis is perfect. It's a boring suburb town. It's kind of square. It's not exactly a hip city.
Yeah.
And they find these three people with incredibly mundane, boring, middle class, I guess, lives. And it is, I mean, you got to suspend some belief. It's based loosely on a true story out of New Jersey. But they tried to, they didn't get quite as kinky as the story really was. It is, you have to watch the last second. It is so weird. I mean, I shouldn't love it. I told Ann, I said, it's sticky. You couldn't turn it off. I'm like, oh, I got to see another episode. These people are so freaking bizarre. I called him. I have one buddy in LA that's like a producer. I'm like, how do people do this? How do you write that? And he's like, you know what? And he's been in Hollywood for 40 years. He 2.5 Men. He was, made his fortune there. And he's like, listen, man, there are people in our industry that see things that we can't. Some people see ghosts. Some people see stories. And it's like, I said, you have got to watch this. I think it's one of the best things I've seen. Now, Ozark is my all-time favorite. Narcos and Ozark are my favorite streaming shows ever. It's on a short list with Mindhunter. Mindhunter's way up there as well.
Yeah.
It is, I liked it much better than
You're
Stranger
like almost
Things.
blushing, Colin.
Oh,
like,
it's got some sexual weirdness. And
yeah.
I am America's honesty broker, and I wear zip-ups. So it's just not of me.
I love it. I haven't seen any of it, but that review from you and how like you're squirming a little bit and blushing a little bit. It's very endearing. Like I will watch the show. These NBA playoff games, man, they end at like 1 a.m. on the Eastern time.
It's brutal.
Zone. It's outrageous, and no one wants to feel bad for us for the job. But like, my God, I'm so tired.
When I was at ESPN, and the Heatles were a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Ann would go to bed at like 10. I'm like, I'll see you in about 2.5 hours. I didn't sleep. I used to say May is the worst month of the year when you have a really fascinating NBA team, and the Heatles, like you had to watch every second of the game, like Mike and Mike. And, I mean, to their credit, they would read the packet in the morning, but there's no possible way they watched it because they had to get up at 3 hours later. Yeah. And for me, I had a little bit of a break because their show was on first. And I was a basketball guy and like kind of a LeBron guy. So it's like, all right, I'll stay up. May was awful. And now Chicago's slightly better, but not much.
Yeah, but it's about an hour better. It's about 1 hour better. But yeah, these games end, and I'm just like, okay, like, and I don't have to be on the air until 5 p.m. So like, but I'm still dragging my ass across across Midtown talking about these games. But yeah, the NBA playoffs are great. It's a good problem, but I will put the show on the list for when the playoffs conclude.
Good stuff, bud.